This video contains spoilers. Watch the fucking show! Hey, what's going on everyone, and I am back again today for another installment of my Overlord Explained series, whereby I dive deeper into aspects of the world of Overlord that are introduced in the anime and explain them in a streamlined format that is easy to digest. Now that Season 4 is over, we have many more concepts that were introduced in that season to dive into, and I have decided the first topic to speak about is wild magic, which we see greatly in Season 4, Episode 11. Before Season 4, wild magic was only mentioned offhandedly a couple times, so it wouldn't surprise me if for some viewers this topic went in one ear and out the other. Additionally, the anime doesn't really explain how wild magic exactly works, so that's what I'm here to do today. So with that being said, let's get into the explanation. So wild magic is an ancient and primordial magic system that existed in the New World prior to tier magic. Unlike tier magic, wild magic is native to the New World and did not exist in Yggdrasil, similarly to martial arts and talents. So around 600 years before Ainz arrived in the New World timeline, wild magic was viewed as the predominant form of magic in the New World. However, wild magic was almost entirely used by the powerful race of dragons known as true Dragonlords. This allowed for the Dragonlords to become the most powerful and dominant race of the New World during a period known as the Age of the Dragonlords. However, wild magic usage began to decline in the New World with the arrival of Yggdrasil players. In particular, a group of players known as the 8 Greed Kings were the driving force behind the end of the Age of the Dragonlords. After they arrived, the 8 Greed Kings decided to conquer the New World. This brought them into conflict with the Dragonlords, and they began a war to decide who would dominate the New World. This war ended in defeat for the Dragonlords, with most of them dying out and very few surviving the conflict. Additionally, it is said that somehow the arrival of players affected how wild magic worked, tainting it and making it so Dragonlords were unable to cast it as effectively as they used to. What this means exactly hasn't been confirmed, but I do have a plausible theory I would like to share with you all. So just know we're entering theory time, and this next bit is just something I think could have happened and isn't 100%. So 600 years ago in the New World timeline, the first recorded group of players known as the 6 Great Gods came to the New World. Prior to their arrival, tier magic did not exist in the New World. Their goal was to defend the human inhabitants of the New World, and we know they ended up founding the Slain Theocracy. What I believe is that the 6 Great Gods were still able to use tier magic in the New World despite the New World not having it previously. Because no one else was able to use tier magic besides them, tier magic was looked upon as an ability only gods could use. However, according to the author Maruyama, the New World's original laws about wild magic were greatly warped by players in tier magic around 5 centuries ago. This time coincides with the arrival of the 8 Greed Kings. So what I think happened is sometime after their arrival, the 8 Greed Kings used a world item to change the magic system mechanics of the New World to allow the universal usage of tier magic, and changing these rules affected how wild magic worked. Likely world items that could have done this are 5 Elements Overcoming, which allowed for players to request changes to the magic systems in Yggdrasil, or Ouroboros, which allowed players to alter Yggdrasil game mechanics in more ways than 5 Elements Overcoming allowed. Doing something like this would explain why it is said the 8 Greed Kings stole the magic of the gods and were the ones who spread tier magic around the New World. This would also be an additional factor as to why the Dragonlords and 8 Greed Kings came into conflict, if the 8 Greed Kings were responsible for the tainting of wild magic. Like I said though, this is just a theory that I have and it isn't 100% confirmed, so something else could have happened for all I know.
So that was a fucking lie.
Okay, we're done with theory time. Let's get back to actual information that we know. So because of the Dragonlords being driven to near extinction by the 8 Greed Kings, there are very few known practitioners of wild magic left. This includes Dragonlords that did not participate in the war against the 8 Greed Kings, such as Platinum Dragonlord, and their descendants, such as Draudion Oraculus, the ruler of the Dragon Kingdom, who is a descendant of the Brightness Dragonlord. Additionally, after the era of the 8 Greed Kings, dragons were being born that did not have the ability to use wild magic, and instead used tier magic. This is where the distinction between a true and false Dragonlord comes from, with true Dragonlords being natural users of wild magic. Examples of each found in the Overlord anime are Platinum Dragonlord, who is a true Dragonlord, and the White Dragonlord, who is a false Dragonlord. It is also usually impossible for a user of wild magic to use tier magic, and vice versa, due to the differences in their base mechanics. There is one notable exception, however, being Elder Coffin Dragonlord, who found a way to bypass wild magic restrictions, but that's a topic for another potential video.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Wild magic users are also being actively sought out by several groups in the New World, such as Fluter Paradigm and the Slain Theocracy, due to how rare it is for someone to be able to use it. Now, as to how wild magic actually works, whereas tier magic is powered by mana, wild magic requires the caster to release souls to power their spells. Now, souls as described in Overlord are actually kinda complicated, and we have enough info on them to warrant their own video, but the shorthand description is a soul is the incorporeal essence of every inhabitant of the New World. To cast a wild magic spell, a user must collect souls, then feed them into the casting of their spell. This phenomenon manifests itself in Yggdrasil terms, with the user losing HP when casting spells. This was shown during the battle between Platinum Dragonlord and Pandora's Actor, with each wild magic spell causing a drop in Platinum Dragonlord's HP pool as observed by Life Essence. The amount of souls required is dependent on a variety of factors. Stronger spells require a greater amount of souls in order to properly cast. In addition, the more distant a user is from possessing true Dragonlord blood, the more souls are required to power even weaker spells. This is demonstrated with the Dragon Queen, as since she only possesses 1/8 dragon blood, to replicate a spell cast by Platinum Dragonlord, she would need to sacrifice far more souls to achieve the same result. Pure-blooded true Dragonlords such as Platinum Dragonlord can cast wild magic with ease when compared to Dragon Descendants or Dragon Hybrids. Wild magic can also be used to create items. An example shown in the anime is Gazef's ring that he gives to Climb, which allows for the temporary increase of a warrior's stats and abilities. This ring is actually the first item to be confirmed to be made by wild magic in the Overlord series. Additionally, items made by wild magic can't be categorized by Yggdrasil terms because they do not function under the same guidelines. However, as stated by Platinum Dragonlord, since the arrival of players and the introduction of tier magic to the New World, even for pure-blooded true Dragonlords, casting wild magic has become more difficult for them. Because of this, crafting items such as Climb's ring would be very difficult, if not impossible to do ever again. Additionally, wild magic also carries some risks when using it. Using wild magic can end up destroying the link with the user's own soul, which makes the casting of stronger wild magic spells somewhat of a risky gamble. Now, despite the cost and risks associated with wild magic, as well as it being disrupted due to players, it is still very powerful. Honestly, I kind of view wild magic as hacks when compared to tier magic. If the user has enough souls to offer for a spell, wild magic has almost limitless possibilities. The main reason for this being is that wild magic ignores Yggdrasil mechanics, as it exists in a completely different system. Maruyama has stated that if a warrior like Kokaitis used Climb's ring, he would exceed level 100, showing that wild magic is capable of breaking Yggdrasil mechanics. Wild magic is also stated by Fluter to be able to resurrect people without a loss of life force, which was a mechanic from Yggdrasil meant for game balance. So the real strength of wild magic comes from its potential, as if enough souls are used, wild magic could possibly even rival a world item in terms of strength without having to abide by Yggdrasil restrictions. However, wild magic has two crippling weaknesses. The first is that wild magic users are immune to the effects of wild magic as a whole. This means that two true Dragonlords would be unable to damage each other with their wild magic, as they would both be immune to any spells used against them. The second weakness is that wild magic is useless against holders of world items. If a wild magic spell is used against a person with a world item, it will fail and have no effect on them whatsoever. This was shown in the anime when Albedo was able to completely bypass Platinum Dragonlord's world isolation barrier since she possessed the world item Ganyungagap. Conversely though, it is also possible that wild magic users are immune from the effects of world items, as the Slain Theocracy stated that they were not sure Downfall of Castle and Country would work on PDL since he uses wild magic. But this has not been confirmed and could possibly due to PDL possessing an unknown world item instead. And so that pretty much explains the main points about the history and use of wild magic in the Overlord world. Despite there being a lot of history to it, due to being so rare during Ainz's time, there is still a lot unknown about the deep specifics of wild magic. As the story of Overlord progresses, I hope we get to see more true Dragonlords, as this will allow us to see wild magic in action more and give us more chances to learn about the mysterious power. So guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, please don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. Leave your thoughts on wild magic as well as other topics in the Overlord world that I should cover in one of these explained videos in the comments section below. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know, and it'll let you know when I post in the future if you hit that bell icon. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching to the very end of the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye!